Right, so don't pretend otherwise. As soon as AEW became a thing, us nerds got all excited because we were like, oh my gosh, it could be like the Monday Night Wars again. And this guy may get over there, and who the flub knows what they're gonna do. We shouldn't shy away from it either, because don't forget when Cody Rhodes made this jump, it was like being a part of the greatest but most surprising thing ever. And this was true back in the day. Remember when Lex Luger was on the first episode of Nitro? What the flub is going on? Who was the master of this too before social media, because my word did he blur the lines. Because Twitter or X and Instagram and all that is a thing these days. Maybe you can't do the same, but there's a flip side to this. Because of the internet, now we can speculate like crazy. Because there are a group of people that exist within All Elite Wrestling that if they did go over to WWE, we would all melt down. And I am of course talking about the Elite. Now up to a couple of weeks ago, this was a very real proposition. But then Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks and Hangman Adam Page re-signed with AEW, and good for them. They deserved it, they've earned it. Man, I hope they're making that cash. It did set my brain off though, because I was like, well, what if they did go the other way? And all of a sudden, I came up with a scenario, because we need to remember this. Back in 2019, when All Elite Wrestling was born, who the flub knows what would have happened with it if it wasn't for these four guys? They were like part of the foundations. You throw in Chris Jericho and Cody Rhodes, and I'm sure that somebody I'm forgetting about, and then you had the nucleus to all of this, and it really did pique people's interest. Also, you had Tony Khan, who was a wrestling fan and was really happy to invest. Now we know we created some magic. I mean, he also had to go around the world and pick the who's who of non-WWE talent. So he went to Ring of Honor, and he went to New Japan, and he went to Impact Wrestling, and who the else knows when he went down to Mexico with AAA and CMLL, and eventually he had built this roster. One of my favorite things about it was, well, I don't know that guy, and I don't know this girl, and I got to see them get better in front of my eyes and become proper wrestling stars. If we fast forward 4 years as well, look what we have done, because they have just sold out Wembley Stadium. Kenny Omega is basically a generational talent. The Young Bucks are one of the best tag teams ever. And I tell you, as for Adam Page, he's already smashing it, but he has so much more to give. His potential is endless. I don't think that WWE didn't know this either, because they did, and they were all ready to make plays for all of these guys, especially Kenneth Omega. I mean, just go and type this into your Google machine. They were going to offer him a hell of a lot of cash and say, you will go into main event feuds with the likes of Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and of course, Cody Rhodes, which is where we're going to start this juncture, because that's what we should have done. If he had gone there, we could have got to WrestleMania 40 and we could have done something like Seth Rollins versus Kenny Omega for the World Heavyweight title. Look at me, I've just randomly started to dance. I think that Kenny would have been interested in this too, just going off old interviews, because he's always been like, I kind of see wrestling as a puzzle. Not only do you need to be really good at every single style, but if you did go somewhere like WWE and they gave you your creative, that's not a bad thing. You have to figure out how to make it work. This is why he's a genius. I also think somebody like Adam Page is just a Triple H wrestler through and through, and he could have gone zooming past NXT and put right on the main roster. And while they likely would have started him at a mid-card level, I just think he's so good, he too would have climbed those rungs. And sooner or later, he'd be going after a world title too. When it does come to the Bucks as well, I don't care what anybody says, you put them in any tag team division in the world, and they instantly make that tag team division better. Man, if you want to get excited about some stuff, once again, let's get to WrestleMania 40. You could do them versus the Usos, them versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, even them versus someone like Alpha Academy. I don't even know what that looks like. Now I want it. I tell you too, if you could have convinced them to come in as a foursome, as one big group, which is how they did negotiate their contract, and you did get to this show of shows in April 2024, and we did plan to have Cody Rhodes beat Roman Reigns for the Super Duper Universal title, they could have even been a part of it. That's right, I said it. Because by that point, maybe Roman's gone out there and got himself some extra friends, like Tama Tonga. He's always being linked to WWE. So Cody's like, well, man, now I need some new pals, because that's how wrestling works. And here comes Kenny and Matt and Nick Jackson and Hangman Adam Page. I tell you, if you thought it was crazy before, well, the internet wouldn't work after that. It would just explode, which would be really funny, because if you're not into the sports entertaining, you'd be like, well, what happened to my computer? And you'd never understand. And if you did pull the trigger on this, of course numbers are going to increase. I mean, go and look when Cody re-debuted at WrestleMania 38, and then watch the trajectory. Everything goes up. Trust me, I know everything about ups. The greatest thing about all of this too is that by proxy, it does just appeal to nerd fans. Every single match type I've just thrown out there would actually be best for geeks to begin with. Then you have to start winning over the mainstream audience. Whatever that means. I mean, you could have even gone proper Vince Russo in 1998 and you come out of WrestleMania 40, Cody Rhodes is the champ, and then it's Ken that gets in his face and goes, hey, man, do you remember we never really liked each other in the build-up to AEW, kinda? I mean, that was BTE stuff. Why don't we have a fight? And then you would get Cody Rhodes versus Kenny Omega for a WWE title on WWE TV. I know, I'm getting way too carried away here. I'm just a Reddit thread come to life. That's what I think is fun about being a wrestling fan. This is what we could do. And of course we are in pie in the sky territory now, but there was a couple of weeks there where I was like, man, maybe the Elite are gonna go. Because of course we had everything with CM Punk. It does sound like the Elite were personally hurt by this, which I totally understand. They are just human beings. And given that the feud with the Blackpool Combat Club had just wrapped up, I was like, well, what if we never see them again? Once again, this is just what I do. I need more hobbies. Some people even use this to go like, oh man, they don't look motivated anymore, which I did not understand because I never saw that. But that's why jumping ship sometimes can be the best thing for your wrestling character. When you do all of a sudden turn up in a new environment, it almost resets your gimmick and it gives you a new lease on life. I mean, I understand the maths, but we've seen it time and time again. I mean, I guess Exhibit A recently would be Cody. You're also going to make mega cash, although it sounds like they got their finances, so that's a couple of thumbs. And even if it was a short-term thing, like let's say we broke all the rules and they only came in for a year, I would bet my ass that Raw and SmackDown would garner so much more interest. Because again, outside of the WWE bubble, these are the guys. And you always want the guys. I guess mostly I just want to see Kenny Omega do the opening Raw promo, because chaos is the name of the game. And let's not forget this either. Just because you go to one side doesn't mean you can't come back to the other. You put a gun to my head. Do I think Cody Rhodes will one day be back in AEW? Yes. Yes, I do. However, as it turned out, the Elite have decided that maybe they don't need a WWE run, which kind of does tie into their careers. Because Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks especially have proved to every single up-and-coming wrestler that you can change the game and you can make money for yourself. Just stick by your integrity and do what you want to do. I tell you, they are absolutely amazing. I also do think it's quite a brave decision as well, because every single person that has grown up on this pro wrestling nonsense wants that WrestleMania moment. I know that sounds daft, and I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's just true. I mean, who wouldn't want to be in the main event of WrestleMania? You walk out in front of a stadium, there's 80,000 people. You know that WWE are going to put worth in that. Sometimes I think if you only did that in your entire career, you'd probably still be a massive success. I mean, you did it. Don't forget that these dream matches aren't dead either, because could Seth Rollins one day go to AEW? I mean, I would say no. I don't think it's possible. I just think what we have seen in the last 2 years in wrestling, we truly have arrived at that time where you can never say never. What is not going to happen though, I'm going to flip on a dime here, is that no, we're never going to get the WWE versus AEW Forbidden Door show. Everybody thinks this is going to happen. When I say everybody, I mean that dark corner of the internet. But WWE hasn't worked with another company like this for 55 years, whatever it is. Are they really going to work with their number one competitor? The answer is no. So we shall just continue on as usual, but as I always tell you, do you know who wins in that scenario? We do, the fans. You can put on WWE and you can see Cody Rhodes, and you can put on AEW, you can see the Elite. At the end of the week, you can just sit down and cross your arms and think to yourself, man, I love being into pro wrestling. It's the flubbing best. I do this sometimes. I'm a pretty weird guy. I would imagine that these four guys will have probably signed contracts for a good 4 years, meaning that Kenny Omega will be in his 40s and so will the Young Bucks, but Hangman will still be in his 30s, and given that they do take care of themselves, is this dream, if it is your dream, dead? No, it's not. But maybe we still do this. We set our watches to pause. What does that mean? Now please do leave a comment below and let me know what you think about all this. Did you want Elite to go to WWE, or do you not care at all? Do you want them to stay in AEW? And you've just ticked that box. Then please do like the video, share the video and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which will be another live video. I'd appreciate it. Go to whatculture.com, follow us on social media, and just put joy into your heart. That's nice and easy. You just get joy, eat it, and it goes here. It's not a thing, just made it up. We need to end this video desperately. Goodbye.